this video, I'm going to talk about several things. Start with, we're going to talk about the Glidelocks. This is my Glidelock design. Now, I'm going to be supplying two of these. They're different lengths. And what's critical here, if you look, these are exactly the same, except for this area right here. Notice this one here is short. One behind it, which would be that one, is pretty long. The longer this is, the less dihedral you have. So right now, the amount of dihedral that I'm getting with the model, with this one here engaged, would be that. Alright, now notice how much this one is cut short, and that one would give you that much dihedral. So again, the shorter this is, the more dihedral you have. So you may find that this long tab is too long because you do not have enough dihedral for your liking. So you can take that long one and shorten it up some. This one here, it's not likely that you're going to have even less than that, but you may. So I do not have it right now, but I will be supplying an O-ring. And what the O-ring is going to do, it'll go around this post and it will hook to this tab on the Glidelock. And the reason for it is really simple. If I leave this undone, then the glide that I have is that much dihedral. On a calm day, that might be acceptable. That might be exactly what you want, is just a little bit of dihedral. On a windy day, you might find that you want more dihedral. So what you would do is you would take and lock this, put the O-ring around it so that it held it up. Now with it holding it up, it's going to use the other Glidelock and not this one, because once it's held up like that, it's no longer active. So by having it held up, the other one becomes active, and if you look, we wind up with more dihedral. So that's the reason for two. And again, like I say, I'll provide an O-ring that you'll just simply stretch it around and it will hold this up. Pretty simple deal, but it gives you the ability to change the amount of dihedral that you get with the Glidelock. This may change down the line, and if it does, if I do a drastic update, then what I will just ask is that if somebody wants the new Glidelock, if I do come up with a different size that can't be achieved by trimming, then I will simply request that you pay half of the shipping. I'll cover the other half of the shipping plus the cost of the part. So that's just so that a guy doesn't buy this one and then I update something and he wind up having to spend more money. So the idea behind everything that I'm doing is to promote this hobby, and I'm new to ornithopters, but I have a real good idea of what it takes for them to fly based on the research that I've done, and I think the results that I'm showing you as I'm doing the research and as I'm doing the building and the designing shows that I do have a little bit of a passion for the ornithopter. So hopefully everyone can benefit from the research and R&D that I'm doing here. The next thing that I want to talk about is the shoulders. Now, my original design was simply a pinch that had a slight slot on both sides of this outer plate with a hole in the middle so the rod could go in and then tighten down the screws, and that would be great because now if you break the rod, you can literally take the screws loose and pull the broken piece out, slide the new rod in. However, the problem with this, and not that it's a problem, but knowing what I know about fiberglass and carbon fiber and rods and whatnot, it's not a good idea to have a hard edge at any point on the rod. So what I've done is I've redesigned my pinch system to this, And if we take a close look here, and I'm not so sure how well this is going to show up on the video, so I will have some high resolution pictures that I will post throughout my little edit here. But if you notice, there's a gap in here. It's wider here than it is back here, and the same thing on the bottom. And the reason for this is if I support this shaft right here and it's become solid, then I'm actually taking all the load that's going onto this rod and putting it wherever it makes contact with my ferrule or my shoulder. So my idea was simply this: make it so that it's a pinch so I can loosen the 2 bolts and pull this out. And by the way, this is a tight fit even with the 2 bolts loose, because I want to preload the rod. I want the rod to be preloaded with pressure before it ever starts to bend. And then the idea is simply this: as this rod bends, I want this gap to start filling up. So what will happen is the gap will decrease on the top and increase on the bottom on the upstroke, or just the opposite on the downstroke. So the idea is take this load and move it in a wider area, and hopefully that will keep from fatiguing the rod and causing it to snap or break in this area. The model as you see it right now, with the carbon rod, the shoulders, all the linkage, and this is ready to go, by the way. So this has all of the linkage in it. The gears are all in it. The speed controller and the 2 servos, as well as the tail, the pivot on the tail. This is all on it, and the weight, also the flat fiber for the flat plate for the back of the wing, and the center plate for the wing. This all up weight was 13 ounces. So I'm estimating probably 20 ounces flying weight. So we shall see as this goes together, but the only thing I have left to mount is the receiver and the tail and the wing. So I've got carbon on order for the wing. As soon as it gets here, I already have the design laid out, so it won't be long and I will have a finished model to take to the air for maiden flight, and look forward to the results. So stay tuned, and it could be a week or so before I make the next update, but I think I've covered about every part of the design that I could possibly tell you about, and I hope you've enjoyed the inside look, if you will, at creating my first Ornithopter. This is in fact my first, and hopefully we all learned something from it.